Have you ever met someone who felt instantly familiar, like you've known them forever? Not just attraction or chemistry, but something deeper, a feeling that transcends logic, as if your soul is whispering, "This one matters." Or perhaps you've experienced the opposite. A relationship that looked perfect on paper but left you feeling hollow, constantly questioning, forever trying to convince yourself that your persistent doubts were just fear talking. What if I told you that these feelings aren't random? That the disconnect between what your mind says and what your body knows holds the key to understanding your most important relationships. Carl Jung, one of history's most profound psychologists, dedicated his life to understanding the hidden language of the unconscious. And what he discovered about human connection might forever change how you view your relationships. Jung found that when someone is truly meant to be in your life, you don't need endless analysis or pros and cons lists. You'll know it through a form of recognition that runs deeper than thought itself. But in a world obsessed with logical decisions and practical choices, how can we access this deeper knowing? How can we distinguish between authentic connection and the relationships we choose from fear, loneliness, or societal pressure? Today, we're diving into Jung's revolutionary understanding of human connection, the wisdom that explains why some relationships drain your very life force, while others make you feel more alive than you've ever been. And by the end, you'll understand why, when someone is truly meant for you, you won't need to be convinced. You'll simply know. Jung believed that our unconscious mind recognizes truth long before our conscious mind can articulate it. Have you noticed how your body responds differently to different people? With some, you feel constantly on edge, muscles tense, breath shallow. With others, your breathing deepens, your shoulders relax, and a sense of calm washes over you without explanation. This isn't coincidence. Jung would say this bodily reaction is your unconscious communicating with you. The meeting of two personalities, Jung wrote, is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. This transformation isn't always comfortable. In fact, meaningful connections often challenge us profoundly. But there's a difference between the discomfort of growth and the discomfort of fundamental misalignment. When someone is truly meant for you, the connection doesn't require you to become someone else. The relationship may challenge you, but it never asks you to abandon your core self. Instead, it invites you to become more authentically who you are. Think about your most significant relationships, the ones that have shaped you. Were they the easiest? Rarely. Were they the ones where you felt most seen and accepted, even in your struggles? Almost always. This knowing goes beyond romantic relationships. It applies to friendships, mentors, even brief encounters with strangers who somehow change your life's trajectory with a single conversation. Jung believed these connections aren't random. They're opportunities for growth orchestrated by the unconscious parts of ourselves, seeking expression and healing. But here's the crucial distinction. While meaningful connections may be challenging, they don't continuously drain your life force. They don't leave you feeling smaller, less capable, or chronically anxious. When someone is truly aligned with you, you feel more alive in their presence, not less. One of Jung's most powerful contributions was his concept of projection, our tendency to see in others what we can't or won't acknowledge in ourselves. This creates a fundamental problem in relationships. We often don't see the actual person, but rather an image we've projected onto them. How many times have you built someone up in your mind, attributing qualities to them they never actually demonstrated? Or perhaps you've done the opposite, projecting your own insecurities onto someone who never intended to hurt you. Jung would say that when someone is truly right for you, the fog of projection gradually lifts. You begin to see them as they actually are, not as you need them to be. Here's how you can recognize authentic connection. With authentic connection, you feel peace even during disagreements. There's a fundamental trust that conflict won't destroy the relationship. You don't feel the constant anxiety of wondering if this argument will be the one that ends everything. You don't feel the need to hide significant parts of yourself. Your vulnerabilities, your past, your dreams, all can be shared without fear of judgment or abandonment. You feel inspired toward growth rather than forced toward change. The right person doesn't demand you become someone else. They support you in becoming more fully yourself. Contrast this with relationships built on projection. You feel perpetually anxious, walking on eggshells, calculating your words. The relationship is marked by extreme highs and devastating lows, with little stable ground between. You constantly doubt your perception of reality, questioning your own feelings and intuition. Jung would point out that these symptoms aren't just emotional discomfort. They're your psyche's alarm system telling you something fundamental is misaligned. Many stay in such relationships because the intensity feels like love. But Jung distinguished between intensity and genuine connection. Emotional intensity, especially when it involves cycles of pain and reconciliation, often signals unresolved wounds seeking healing, not authentic love. True connection brings clarity, not confusion. It feels like finally exhaling after holding your breath for too long. Have you ever met someone at precisely the moment you needed their specific wisdom or perspective? This is what Jung called synchronicity, meaningful coincidences that defy logical explanation. Jung believed that when someone is meant to be in your life, the universe orchestrates the meeting with an almost eerie precision. Not just anyone, but exactly the person whose presence will catalyze your growth or healing in that moment. But synchronicity requires discernment. Not everyone who enters your life at a significant moment is meant to stay. Some connections serve their purpose through their brevity. The person who appears exactly when you're questioning your career path may deliver their message and move on. The relationship that helps you heal from past trauma may complete its purpose. Jung would encourage us to ask, not just, is this person right for me? But what purpose might this connection serve in my journey toward wholeness? When someone is truly aligned with your path, the timing of your meeting often carries a sense of rightness that's difficult to articulate. Obstacles seem to dissolve, creating space for the connection to unfold naturally. This doesn't mean the relationship will be without challenges, but there's a flow that feels supported by something larger than both of you. If you find yourself having to force a connection, constantly rearranging your life, compromising your values, or ignoring red flags to make it work, that's not synchronicity, that's wishful thinking, and it often leads to disappointment. Listen closely to the quiet, knowing that emerges when you meet someone with whom you share genuine synchronicity. There's often a sense of, oh, there you are, rather than, please choose me. Jung's concept of individuation, the process of becoming your complete, authentic self, lies at the heart of finding meaningful connection. He believed that our most significant relationships reflect our relationship with ourselves. Think about it. How can you recognize someone who accepts your whole self if you haven't yet accepted all parts of yourself? How can you discern what feels right if you're disconnected from your own inner guidance? This is where many go wrong in relationships. They seek in others what they haven't yet developed within themselves. Wholeness, security, validation. They enter relationships hoping someone else will complete them, heal their wounds, or give them the sense of worth they haven't yet cultivated internally. But Jung would say this approach inevitably leads to disappointment. No one can give you what you haven't first given yourself. The painful truth many avoid is this. If you consistently attract relationships where you feel unvalued, overlooked, or misunderstood, it's often because these relationships mirror how you treat yourself. If you tolerate disrespect from others, it may reflect the disrespect you've normalized in your relationship with yourself. This isn't about blame, it's about empowerment. Because once you recognize this pattern, you can begin the work of developing genuine self-worth. And as you do, something remarkable happens. The quality of people you attract begins to shift. When you've done the inner work of individuation, facing your shadows, integrating your disowned parts, and developing genuine self-acceptance, you naturally attract relationships that mirror this wholeness. You no longer settle for connections that diminish you because they simply don't resonate with your authentic self. This is when you'll know someone is truly meant for you, not because they rescue you from yourself, but because they recognize and honor the self you've worked so hard to become. So how do we apply Jung's wisdom practically? How do we create relationships based on authentic connection rather than projection, need, or unconscious patterns? It begins with awareness, the cornerstone of all transformation. Start by observing your patterns without judgment. What types of relationships do you repeatedly attract? What feelings arise consistently in your connections with others? These patterns contain messages about what's still seeking healing within you. Next, practice trusting your body's wisdom. Your body often knows the truth before your mind can accept it. Does someone's presence make you feel expansive or contracted, energized or depleted? These sensations aren't random, they're valuable data about compatibility at the deepest level. Third, be willing to face your shadows, the disowned parts of yourself that you project onto others. The qualities that trigger intense emotional reactions in you often point to unacknowledged aspects of your own psyche. By reclaiming these projections, you gain clarity about what's yours and what belongs to the other person. Perhaps most importantly, cultivate patience. Meaningful connections can't be forced or rushed. They unfold according to their own timing, revealing themselves gradually as both people grow in authenticity and self-knowledge. When you meet someone who is truly meant for you, there will be a sense of rightness that doesn't require constant questioning or reassurance. This doesn't mean the relationship will be without challenges. Often, the most growth-promoting connections challenge us profoundly. But beneath the surface challenges, there will be a fundamental alignment that feels like coming home to yourself. Jung believed that the ultimate purpose of relationship isn't happiness in the conventional sense, but growth toward wholeness. When you find someone who supports this journey, who sees your shadows and your light with equal acceptance, you've found a connection worth nurturing. The true magic of Jung's teaching lies in this profound truth. When you commit to the journey of becoming your most authentic self, you naturally attract those who resonate with your true essence. You don't need to search desperately or compromise your values. You simply need to become more fully yourself. And when the right person appears, you will know. Not through analysis or pros and cons lists, but through a recognition so fundamental it feels like remembering rather than discovering. Your soul will recognize theirs, and in that recognition, you'll find not just connection, but the opportunity for transformation that Jung understood to be the greatest gift of relationship. So as you navigate your relationships, whether looking for love, deepening existing connections, or healing from past wounds, remember that the most reliable compass is your own inner knowing. Trust the quiet voice that whispers truth, even when that truth is difficult. Because ultimately, when someone is truly meant for you, the knowing doesn't come from convincing yourself. It comes from recognizing what your deepest self has always known. If you found value in today's message, consider subscribing to the channel and share your story in the comments below. Your experience might be exactly what someone else needs to hear right now. Remember, the journey toward authentic connection begins with connecting authentically to yourself. And that journey, while sometimes challenging, is the most worthwhile path you can walk.